All right. Hi guys. Welcome to Test. First and foremost, guys, I need to apologize for my sound quality tonight. Um, there's been some transitions with my office space, and so I'm using a different type of speaker tonight. So, apologize in advance for the subpar audio. Jordan's audio, okay. Yeah, we'll see. Well, anyways, testing normal's back. We've been on a break for about a week and a half, right? 2 weeks. Roughly, roughly. Guys, well, we're just gonna start the day off, start the podcast off delightful. We're gonna do a couple little shower thoughts for y'all, okay? Um, let's do showers. Let's do showers. Yeah, yeah. We're gonna mix it up. We're staying fresh, staying fresh. Okay, so first of all, shower thought. I'll go first. I have three. Um, gotcha. Uh, oh boy. Okay. All right, guys. First shower thought. If you were a whale, getting an itch would just seriously suck. It'd be very miserable. Yeah, like Willie the whale, like ocean whale. Uh huh. Yeah. I mean, what if you're in the middle of the ocean? It might not be that easy to find coral, right? I don't know if they're all that good of friends. Is the problem. Uh, yeah, maybe there's a lot of blubber involved, so I don't know if that plays a factor. Yeah, I just don't want the feedback loop of noise, perhaps. So, as we say. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like that's essentially what most of Facebook is, right? Yeah, yeah. Mm, well, kind of. Maybe they are. I think they probably like they suggest friends. Mm, no, but I do think that Facebook, they're playing with us, dude. They're playing us. All right. My next share thought. All parents hope that one day their children will become orphans. Right? Think about it. That's a wild one because not no I don't think any parent wants to outlive their kids. No, orphan just means you don't have parents. No, you don't. You're an orphan. And it typically is, but usually, right, the terminology orphan implies it's child, right? So, right. 50-year-old orphan, yeah. True. That's very true. Well, yeah, yeah. True. That's very true. Okay, hit me no show with that. Say that again. Ooh, yeah. 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 That's kind of what like well, that's why people say they need a vacation from their vacation too, right? Well, yeah. Yes. Tiny mutants, yes. Um, shoot. So somebody, let me see here. Guys, if you're watching on Facebook Live, tell us if you can hear us okay. Because somebody said they couldn't hear Jordan. Yeah, I got a couple messages saying they weren't able to hear you. Uh, um, and I'll just chitty chat. I'll do another test, another shower thought here. Okay, guys. Well, we're getting that all set up here. Um, when brain when brain transplants are eventually successful, it will be the first instance of the donor potentially benefiting from the transplant.
Let's see if they can hear me now.
That's kind of an interesting thought, right? Can you guys hear Jordan now? Let us know. Give us a yay or give us a nay. Come on, Jordan. Let me see. Let's see. So I'm gonna keep talking until I get some affirmation here.
I could hear it. I just listened to the Facebook audio and it's there. I don't know when it stopped. I don't know if
Okay.
it's not been on the whole time or what, but
Mm,
it was
okay.
showing on the
Well, I just
meter
got
and it's, yeah.
I just got a message saying that they could hear it now.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
we'll take it. We'll take it. All right. Hit me with another shower thought, brother.
Okay. So, the definition of a submarine is not a ship that can go underwater, but a ship that can go back up.
That's true.
Because
Yeah.
all ships can go underwater.
Right. Right. Yes. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I'll take it. I'll take it. I could argue with that, but yes, I'll take it. They're not supposed to. It's the only ship that's supposed to go underwater, I guess.
Well, yeah, they have the ability. Like
Um.
cars can go underwater, but they're not submarines.
Right. Anything can go underwater,
Yeah,
I guess. Right.
right.
Okay, you have one more shower thought, so I'm just gonna take it real quick, and then we'll be done with
Do it.
this. If an astronaut dies in a distant planet with no life, then that planet witnessed death before creation of life. That's pretty cool. I like that shower thought.
Kind of cool. Kind of depressing too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But here's a crazy thought. That death could perhaps spawn life on that planet if there was no bacteria, but there was enough nutrients on the planet to allow for organisms to thrive.
True.
And in
That
that
is true.
that so you could potentially bring life to a planet by dying on a planet, which is kind of a wild thought as well. As well. All right, guys. Well, those were the showers for tonight. Hope you guys got nice and clean from our shower thoughts. Get it? Shower clean. Uh, Golly. All right. So, a couple topics. I think Jordan, you and I both, funnily enough, we both had different articles pertaining to this topic.
Well, okay, there's some
Um,
truth to that and there's some lies to that. The truth is,
oh,
I
okay.
had there's a ton of stuff, and you and I talk about this, that I would love to talk about that would I'm
Hmm.
not prepared to talk about in public in a recorded
Hmm.
setting right now. Um,
Yeah.
so I got really curious about one of your topics and
Oh,
did
okay.
some further digging on it
That's
to
great.
figure out, like, because here's the deal. Most articles are just a regurgitation of what someone else wrote. And so I started following the links in one of the ones that you had, and it did that. It was like this
Hmm.
feedback loop pushing you back to an article that they had written, until I finally found
Hmm.
where they got it, but then where that person got it. And
Hmm.
we'll go into it a little bit. We can talk about something else first. But what I couldn't find consistently was the actual
Hmm.
emails that they were talking about. They would just say, it said something like this, and make all these assumptions, but wouldn't give me the links to read the actual email for myself. So I had to do a
Hmm.
lot of digging to find them, and I did.
Well, yes, that's great. The only thing in my article that I was actually um, alluding to was his tweet. He tweeted, um, oh no, Jordan.
Can you hear me?
Oh
It was
no,
my end,
I've
not
lost Jordan's
yours.
audio.
Wait, can you hear? Hang on.
Can't.
They can hear me.
Okay.
You can't hear me.
Guys, I'm
This
sorry
is
that we were having so much
this is what
technical
happens when tons of
difficulties
office gets
tonight.
ripped apart and we don't test
Oh
things
no.
soon enough.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna see.
How about now?
Oh, there you go. Now I hear him.
Yeah, you should hear me now.
There we go.
It's this audio software that was crashing on me beforehand, so
Okay.
it's been a joy.
So the article has a link to a tweet that Elon Musk made,
Okay.
and it said they should pretend to work somewhere else, and it
Yeah.
was in reference specifically to remote work
Yeah.
protocols for
Yeah.
companies.
So let's talk about exactly what happened, because what got me was kind of the headline, and that's kind of what sent me down a rabbit hole.
Mm.
Is that they basically said in the first article, and this isn't your article, it's just a article, and a lot of people try to talk about this. It just says that Elon Musk's memo, which was actually a series of emails to his employees, didn't just demand a return to offices, it promoted overwork. So I was like, okay, that could be an interpretation of an email.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what got me going, is I was like, you know what? Most places can't overly request that you work more hours than are contracted, but
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes people will overwork themselves so that they look like they're achieving more. And a lot of times it just becomes the expectation, and that can be fault on both sides, right? Fault in the company for allowing it to continue on, which they're kind of getting free work. And fault on the employees for not putting up boundaries, right? So I went through and read his emails. I didn't look at his series of tweets, although going based off the emails, essentially what I read them to say was he didn't want him to overwork. They were just saying your 40 hours that you're, allotted, like a full-time work, is the hours you will be in the office. If
Yeah.
there's other things you are doing beyond that, then you can do that outside those 40 hours, but a minimum of the 40 hours, meaning your full shift or your full hours, will be
Right.
done in the plant. They're not saying you're required to do the other stuff. Although a lot of these are executives and stuff, and that's who it was written to.
Well, and I have the memo right here.
Okay.
From his from the Twitter just that he responds to, and it's I agree with it. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because it basically, there's people taking advantage of the system, claiming they're working more hours when they're not working actually at home, essentially is what it is.
Right.
And it's costing the company a lot of money. So he says, anyone who wishes to do remote work must be in the office for a minimum, and I mean a minimum, of 40 hours per week or depart Tesla. This is less than we ask of factory workers, he says. Yeah, which is true.
Yeah. If
there are particularly exceptional contributors for whom this is impossible, I will review and reprove those exceptions directly. Moreover, which is pretty cool to think like he's reviewing that, like right. that to that degree. Moreover, the office must remain Tesla office. Oh, the office must be a Tesla office.
Right.
Not a remote branch office unrelated to the job duties. For example, being responsible for Fremont factory human relations, but having your office be in another state, which is interesting. So essentially what's taking place here is Tesla employees are working working from home saying they're doing more than 40 hours a week.
Right.
And he's saying, I'm not going to pay you if you're not actually putting in hours. And we have some degree of accountability if you're in the office,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, and his so that was his first email, and then his second that he led up with it said that everyone at Tesla is required to spend this minimum of 40 hours of work. Moreover, the office must be where actual colleagues are located and not remote pseudo office. If you don't show up, we'll assume that you've resigned. The more senior you are, the more visible you must be your presence. That is why I
Mm,
lived in the factory so much, so that those on the line could see me working alongside them. If I had not done that, Tesla would long ago have gone bankrupt. There are of course companies that don't require this, but when was the last time they shipped a great new product? It's been a while. Tesla has and will create and actually manufacture the most exciting and meaningful products of any company on earth. So his point is, number one, they're a manufacturing company. Kind of hard to do remote work. And if you're a manager or an executive for people that are doing work that's hands on, what does it say that they're they have to be there on
I totally
location and
agree.
you're not?
Yep.
So it would be one thing to
Yeah,
say
that's a
you were a
great point.
software company and everyone's doing work at home. I mean, why couldn't the person that's managing and make sure the team is going the right direction and everything be doing their location kind of be the same, quote unquote, as the other people? But nowhere in this, and that's what got me, is like every single article, especially on Forbes and a few others that kind of regurgitated this, they're like, he's saying that they should work more hours. Like, no, he's saying if you're going to work more hours outside of that 40, then you can do it in a remote location. But your 40
Hmm.
that you're contracted for, you're do you're doing here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. I think it's reasonable. And I really actually resonate with the idea of like if you're a position of leadership and you have people on the floor actually working, but then you're doing stuff remotely, it feels like you're not actually a part of the team or helping in a lot of situations. So that I think that makes a lot of sense. I saw a funny tweet about Elon, and somebody tweeted, Elon Musk is no longer buying Twitter after he realizes he can get it in the App Store for free. I was like,
yeah,
that was a funny quote. It'll be fascinating to see if he actually follows through with his purchase.
so that is something interesting. It's not something that either one of us had even brought up here, but it's something that's kind of transpired during the times where we were, away. Um, and I don't know. I'm like I waffle between did he do this because he actually wanted to buy Twitter? I do actually predominantly think he actually did want to. But also is calling out Twitter for how many fake accounts that there were, because he had like 7 independent companies that have gone through and looked at what are the, like, algorithmically, what are the chances that this is less than 5%, which is what they've been reporting to their shareholders for years, right?
Hmm.
And then they could not produce that proof, so he's had like these independent places come in and do these audits, and they
Right.
came back and said bare minimum it's 20% are fake. And then
Right.
they some major accounts, so one of the major accounts that they did was the POTUS account, and they said that
Hey, will
over.
you turn your volume up just a slight touch for me, Jordan?
Yes.
Just turn yours up just a little bit. I was listening to the audio on Facebook and just a tiny
um
bit. There you go. Thank you.
so I just turned it up a little bit. um
Perfect.
they they're roughly around 49 to 50% are supposedly fake on the POTUS that are following the POTUS
No.
account.
What?
And that's from more than one independent auditor that he's had. And that's why he's like basically renegotiating the deal, saying maybe it's not worth what I said I was going to pay for it. And since you guys, part of the deal that was written into the contract was you can prove that it's less than 5% are fake accounts. And now they can't. And now
Mm.
he's proving this. So even if he doesn't buy it, right,
Hmm.
he has now exposed to all their shareholders that they are not worth what they said they were.
Mm. Yeah, fascinating. So it's kind of like a clever ploy potentially to get to buy Tesla or Twitter for less. So he like significantly offered to buy it for way more than what it was originally valued for. So
Right.
maybe that if he would have offered, yeah, for them to then accept the offer and now that he knows the value was never worth that,
Well, not only
essentially.
that, it's been something they've stated to their shoulders before. Less than 5% of the accounts are bots, but they've never backed that up. They've never been audited. So he's forced an
Mm,
audit because there's this deal going through.
hmm. That's
So
fascinating.
it's interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I hope that he follows through with the purchase of it, because there is a need for um, a freedom of speech from a social media platform.
yeah,
And if he ends up not following through with that, I think that there will be not a backlash, but maybe people will not be as apt in the future to try to accrue something like, or to try to advocate for a platform like that
yeah,
and actually be successful.
yeah.
I
I would agree.
I could be wrong though.
Yeah,
Who
but it could
knows?
also just shoot to crap the Twitter's basically like dominance, because if those investing in it realize, oh, they're just lying and doctoring this, why? So think about this. It goes even further, because at first I was like, I mean, whatever, the shareholders, but guess what else Twitter makes money from?
Selling your information.
No. Well, yes, but beyond that, what do they
Um,
accept money from that they use that
mm,
information for?
Cryptocurrencies.
No, advertisers. And advertisers pay per views. So if now over 20% are fake views, now they're on the hook for selling ads
Right,
at well over 20% of fake views, taking money that are to non people.
right,
So because
right.
they didn't clean their platform up and they've allowed it to be that way for whatever reason, whether it's intentional or not intentional, they're selling ads and views to their customers that are fake accounts they haven't cleaned up. So if a
True.
bot goes by and views an ad, they're getting paid for that, and there's
Mm.
not actually any advertising going on. So
So
so they falsified in many different directions.
yeah, and this is what I don't want to see happen. I don't want to see this trend of Twitter well, I mean, it's a free market, so I guess it kind of is a good thing when we allow a company to fail, right? Like I think there's a degree of, like, when a forest burns down, it allows for new growth and distribution of resources in different areas. Um, but what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see Twitter crash and then the only platform we have left be Facebook or Instagram, and then Facebook basically ends up ruling the world. Like, I'd like there to be competition, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I saw a meme this week that was pretty hilarious. I'm looking for the actual quote of it. Dealing with this. Oh yeah, here it is. It said Twitter needs an update where you can play music on your page, so when somebody comes on your page, they're going to be hearing your favorite song. And the first comment
Mm.
was, "We have
My,
finally reached the generation that doesn't know what MySpace is."
oh my gosh. You know, do you know who owns MySpace?
Tom?
No. Uh-uh.
Do you remember Tom?
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah. Oh
first
yeah.
MySpace friend?
Yeah, of course. Of course. How could I forget Tom?
I friended him on
Um,
Facebook.
did he accept it?
So,
Maybe.
the fake
Do
user.
you know who owns, and I think he still owns this. I'm gonna Jamie it real quick
Okay.
and verify this. Um, but at one time, the owner of MySpace after TomTom was Justin Timberlake. He bought all of MySpace. He thought it was going to be like something he could like rehash and rejuvenate. Timberlake. Let's see, MySpace. I'll tell you right
He probably
now.
said something like, "I want it that way," or something.
um, okay, so oh, crazy. No way. So in 2011, Justin Timberlake bought MySpace for 35 million. and then sold it in 2016, which I, I don't recall MySpace being a thing in 2016. I I don't think it
I
was.
mean,
I could be wrong.
it's still there. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
It's like
Huh.
basically a music platform.
But it ended up being sold in 2016 for 87 million. So it's fascinating to me there was still a profit to be made on a platform that I don't know anybody that uses MySpace. Do you?
No.
I mean, I'm gonna log on to MySpace right now and see if it's still a website that's there. Let's see, guys. MySpace featured content on MySpace. What if my old login? What if it was still there from like
I tried mine like years
20 years
later.
ago?
They like reset them. It was weird.
Oh, okay. Yeah, MySpace now looks more like Yahoo News. If you log on to MySpace,
And it was like
weird.
the thing. I mean,
Oh yeah, dude. And it was always like there was like, do you remember? It would almost be like if you had somebody's song, it was their song, but you put it on your MySpace page, like it would be like you were like very, it was rude, or like there was etiquette. There was like major etiquette to how you had your songs listed, or like your favorites and all these things.
what's funny is like how far like it's like social media is kind of annoying, right? But it's probably not going away. But
Probably
back
not.
then, you had to know who someone was, and to check up on them, you had to go through the effort of going to their page. So like you wouldn't see an update in a
Mm.
feed or
Hmm.
something. It'd be like, you know who I haven't seen or talked to in a while is Curtis.
Hmm.
I'm gonna
Hmm.
look him up
Hmm.
and then go to his
True.
page and look at the things that you said. I'm like, man, he wrote that like a year ago, and it doesn't show up in like a notification or feed or anything. And I don't know if I like that better or worse. Um,
Well, because
I
Facebook
don't like the messing with
and
it. I will say, like when Facebook came out, the way that the feed was, you could
mhm,
scroll and get to where
right,
you'd left off.
chronological. It was chronological,
Yes.
right? It wasn't based on what
Yeah,
they
and it
think you
was
want to
only the
see.
people that you followed. It wasn't
Right.
filtered. It was just,
Exactly.
so then that way
Chronological.
you could be like, I don't want to see that person anymore. Like,
Hmm.
and just not see them, right? But now they like
Hmm.
feed you what you want or
Hmm.
what they think you want. And you don't know. You like if you ever it's like people like I'm sure people have done this. It happens on Instagram, Facebook, happens on Twitter. Twitter a lot less is you find something you're like, "Oh, I want to see that." And you go to click on it and right then the app refreshes and you like didn't quite catch what it said. And it's like all of a sudden you're at the top of whatever their
Right.
featured list is,
Yes.
and
Yes.
now you can't find what it is you actually did want to see. Like,
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's really annoying. That's a great point. That's a great point. Yeah, I did hear something, and um, I think it was maybe when Mark Zuckerberg was on um, the podcast of oh, what's his name? The MIT guy. Um, he has his own podcast. The MIT guy. He's been on Joe Rogan a couple times. Oh, hold on a second. Let me see. I'll look it up here.
I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you for a second.
Ma- uh, Friedman. Friedman. Something Friedman.
Oh,
Um,
Max Friedman.
uh, is it Max Friedman? My brother-in-law would know this. He like loves. No, not Max Friedman. Lex Friedman.
Lex.
Lex Friedman. There we
Close.
go.
I was really
There we
close.
go. So Lex Friedman, he had Mark Zuckerberg on a podcast of his, and it was fascinating to hear him challenge Mark about some of the controversies with Facebook
Mm-hmm.
and Instagram and some of like the social um, etiquette and maybe kind of the people they are taking advantage as far as selling their information and targeting certain individuals that with things that might make them upset or get them more engaged. And it was fascinating to hear how Zuckerberg almost was like he was surprisingly savvy at talking around a subject. And for somebody that I am highly confident has Asperger's, um, it was surprising that he was that somewhat politically savvy. But also, he's one of the wealthiest people in the world. He's an intelligent guy, obviously. So he's probably had a lot of training, and he obviously has a lot of experience. And he's appeared before Congress how many times now?
Yeah,
So he's been trained to know how to speak in public without getting himself in trouble, right?
true.
Which is kind of fascinating. Um, Dude, this week I read an article, and I want you to pull it up for me and tell me what you think.
Okay.
Um, it was a about transmission speed for data,
Yeah.
and the article's title is "The World's First Successful Transmission of 1 petabyte per second in a standard, basically 1 peta in fiber wire,
Right.
essentially." Um, and I wanted to kind of get your opinion on this of 1 petabyte per second transmission.
It's not 1 petabyte. It's 1 petabit.
Oh, 1 petabit. Okay, right. So does that mean we're dealing with hundreds of thousands of gigabytes per second in that transmission?
So it's not it's not it doesn't translate to the same. It's like, so like when people say 1 megabit per second, it doesn't mean 1 megabyte. And when they
Okay.
say 1 gigabyte or gigabit per second, it doesn't mean 1 gigabyte.
Okay.
It's a separate form of, it's more complicated, but it's fast for sure. It's talking about the amount of data that can be passed through at one time. And
Okay.
so you have megabit, then you have gigabit, then you have, like, I believe terabit, just like terabyte comes next, and then it would
Mm.
be petabit.
Okay.
Most of this stuff is,
Gigabit is different than gigabyte.
yeah, yep,
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
yeah. One's
I
referring to
didn't know that.
speed, and one's referring to like throughput, and one's referring to actual like storage consumption.
Oh,
So,
fascinating.
so I mean, and they're both referring to like bits, and it's a weird conversion, all in like base 16. Um, anyway, but most of this stuff would just be used, at least right now. Like, I mean, back in the day, you have like gigabit connections that we never saw, but we see them now. You can get them in your house, but most people, the fastest they can get in their house is going to be 1 gigabit. So
Hmm.
it would be a thousand
Or
or
1 gigabyte.
one,
We're getting one
one
gigabit.
gigabit connection.
Okay.
Any
Yeah, one
any
gigabit.
basically, like, a good rule of thumb is that if it says byte at the end of it, it's referring to how
Hmm.
much storage it takes up, not the speed of which it can be transmitted.
Oh, so this is petabit. So this is speed then
It's
that we're
speed
talking about.
transfer, but not amount. It's talking about how much it wants, not,
Mm.
it doesn't necessarily mean it's a petabyte per
Hmm.
second,
Mm.
because that would be a lot. For example,
Right.
when Netflix first launched streaming, right?
Hmm.
Its entire library was
Right.
around 50 petabytes. There's no
Oh, wow.
chance that even with a petabit connection, you're going to transfer that all in 50 seconds
Wait. When Netflix first started streaming, it was at 50 petabits.
for its entire library.
That seems like a lot. I'm surprised it was that much.
I mean, yes, but I mean, if you look at how much content was launched in the beginning, it's quite a bit,
Okay, I'm gonna
especially.
look up now. How much data is Netflix movies? Is Netflix entire stock of movies? Let's see. Let's see if there's an answer. If there is an answer. They might not release that type of information though either.
Yeah, I know from history there was.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm not finding it. Dang. It's talking about like how much it lets you download and stream at one time.
Yeah.
I wonder how much. It'd be interesting to know the average amount of gigabytes of data a household uses per day. Like obviously there's fluctuations, but what is the average amount of gigabytes a household? What's the average amount of data a household uses during the day
Oh,
with all the streaming and everything?
yeah. The average household shockingly stays usually under 200 gigabytes per month.
Really?
Hmm.
Oh, here we go. Okay. According to OpenVault broadband study for the third quarter of 2021, the average US household uses 435 gigabytes of data monthly, which is less than I would have thought, actually. I would have thought more than that. Uses approximately 435 gigabytes of data monthly. And it
There's
appears
some
to be on
people
the
bringing that
rise.
average on up. I will tell you that. So,
Yeah. Well, and also, though, some that bring it down, like think about how many elderly folk
right.
don't use that much data, or they have streaming services or internet services that are so slow, it's like they can't use that much even.
Hmm.
They're on broadband, especially if they use wave broadband, nice and slow.
Yeah.
Casting shade on wave right now.
I'm not a fan of Wave around here. That is our quote unquote Comcast in this area, and it is pretty bad.
Yeah, Comcast is miserable
This place
as
claims
well.
that it would still fit in 90 petabytes Netflix.
Wow, no kidding.
But think about this. I bet at one point it was bigger, but can we all just collectively agree that Netflix's content, as they have done more of it themselves, other than Stranger Things, if you removed that, right? It's it's pretty much hot garbage. So,
It kind of depends on what you're looking for, right? Like, I think I really enjoy certain aspects of Netflix. Like, I really like I like the comedy specials,
that's true.
and that's kind of one of the main sources of actually decent, consistent comedy specials.
Hmm.
The movies haven't been great in my opinion, but the shows, I feel like the shows and the comedy specials have been decent. Documentaries, I haven't seen a lot of good
But name
documentaries
another
lately
show
from
besides
Netflix.
Stranger Things. That's why I said that.
The Witcher,
I've
delightful.
never watched it.
And I'm a sci-fi kind of
Right.
geeky dude, right? So there's a lot of those things that I
I guess
see on
I guess what
Netflix.
I'm comparing it to is
Ozarks,
is
another amazing,
if you look at say Apple Plus, right? Some of the
or
content
Paramount.
or Paramount, some of the content that those two have been putting out recently is ridiculous. It's like it is network TV of yesteryear when it was good, right? So like
Can I just say something real quick about Paramount, guys? I just need to give a shout out to Paramount. I know some people
out of
didn't like
nowhere,
1880 out of nowhere, out of nowhere. I know some people didn't like 1883. I enjoyed 1883 for about three quarters of it.
yeah, the
Three
teen
quarters of it I
drama.
thought was
If
great.
you remove the teen
Didn't need it.
drama, it was really good.
Yeah. I enjoyed a lot of 1883. But let's talk about the other really strong showings we've had with Paramount. Picard, who didn't like Picard? Come on, naturally. Star Trek Discovery,
Are these all
fantastic.
going to be Star
Last season,
Treks?
not as good. Well, one more. Star Trek New Worlds. Guys, if you're in a place looking for some good Star Trek, let me tell you, Star Trek Strange New Worlds is incredible. Great cast, great storylines, cinematography is fantastic. Go check it out. And then Halo.
Halo is good.
I mean, that's a mic drop of a show.
Yeah.
I have several coworkers, not sci-fi people, not into like, video games or anything like that. And I told them about Halo and they went home and started watching them. They were like, this is ridiculous. This is so good. They thought it was going to be super cheesy and it was
Right.
fantastic, right?
Right. They were not. Oh no, Apple Plus was Severance.
Yes.
Right.
But I'm gonna be honest with you, Jordan. Other than Severance, I haven't
Oh,
got a lot of
I know
shows out of Apple
the Daily
Plus.
Show,
Yeah, that
or not Daily Show.
wasn't
Sorry,
the Daily. I think it was called the Daily. Was it the Daily?
I don't remember
Yeah,
the news show.
you did like that one.
Mm-hmm.
You did like that one a lot.
Mm-hmm. So did you?
You did like that one.
Well, I haven't
I
seen the second season.
I didn't watch the second season.
Oh, Ted Lasso was them
The first season.
first
They
season.
didn't have great second
Second
seasons.
season was weird. Yeah. So anyway, but
Um,
they're but even at that,
Amazon though. Let's talk about Amazon. Amazon has come out with some pretty good ones actually too.
Amazon is hit
Um,
and miss, and the reason why is because they're predominantly a shipping organization, and then
they're
the
everything.
video
They're
is they're
everything.
like, well, we'll just kind of make this a perk. Um, they've started taking some of the comedy specials though.
And they're a grocery store too. Don't forget.
How could I?
And they're a grocery store. Yeah, yeah. Amazon's
Yeah,
pretty strong
but
showing.
here's
HBO has actually had some
as
pretty good shows
much
too
as like
lately.
all that is like, we wanted to go to. I'll pick what I want to watch, and not come back to multiple cable subscriptions now that people love
Right,
to have. And
right.
that's where someone needs to combine these things and bring it back. That's where like
Ooh, interesting.
the joy of um, Netflix was. It's like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's going here because they had it right, and then
Mm-hmm.
they just kept raising prices and dropping the ball, and then people are like, you know what, we're just gonna make our own. And I think unless they change something significantly, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, Netflix will be the MySpace of streaming. Like we'll be like, well, that's what started it, and Tom was a nice guy, but now Justin Timberlake owns it, and we don't know what it's like.
Yeah, that's possible. It's possible. I think Netflix has, they're kind of at a fork in the road right now. And I think that honestly, this is something that um, I have thought about a decent amount before is Netflix, in my opinion, has focused on quantity over quality over the past year or a couple years. I feel like they've really increased the amount of streaming episodes, shows, movies, and certain things that might not have the highest level of quality.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, people are kind of are turning a little bit sour in some of those shows. I think
Yeah.
so. I think if they invest in themselves, that's great. Also, what used to be different is Netflix was really big on um, this is a big thing that's different. Netflix, one of their main sources was not self-production, right? It was bringing in
Yeah.
shows from other platforms and another TV series that they had produced, and so they were cherry picking, right? They were saying like, this was a really good show, The Office. Let's put it on Netflix.
Right.
This was a really good show, New
Yeah, that's
Girl.
what I was
Let's
saying.
put
Is
it on
they had a
Netflix.
great idea in the beginning because it was scratching that itch that people had to like get away from the whole like I have to buy this next step up tier in cable and I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to pay for cable anymore. I'd rather just have one thing, something I can take with me. It's like Netflix was kind of that. Like if Netflix could have done live TV and sports, they would have had it, right? I said that about Hulu early on. It's like if Hulu could
Mm.
also do sports at a competitive price, they would have it. Like anyone who could pull that off, where the stuff that needs to be live is live and the stuff that needs to be streamed
Mm-hmm.
is streamed,
Mm-hmm.
would have
That's
it.
a good point.
Um,
And that's kind of what YouTube TV tries to do,
yeah, but they're just
except they don't
in.
have the movies.
Yeah, they don't have that, and they're
Like
also just insanely expensive for what they are.
so expensive.
And so
Yeah, I
it's
think it's like $80 a month, right?
yeah, it just keeps going up. Well, and then Netflix just raised their rates too. Like they've lost more content, and they just raised to like $20 now.
Did they? They're not 20.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think they're like
Maybe it's
15.
$17.99. They went from either to $17.99 or up to $19.99.
Yeah, they're not as cheap as they used to be, though. That's for sure.
No, and I remember when
Um,
Netflix was $7.99.
well, I remember when they were 7.99, as long as you weren't getting the DVDs.
Yeah, but who wanted those?
I remember that. Well, at one point, that was the only thing they had,
True.
or kind of the main. And I remember I was house
Yep.
sitting.
It's The
Oh,
premium,
it's they have different three plans.
the premium one went to 19.99.
Yeah. So 9.99 is the lowest end, 15.49 middle, and then 19.99 for the high end.
Right. Which
Well,
that's the
guys,
one that has like full HD and stuff. And so it's like that's you generally the plan that people are at. So I don't
I
know.
did not think we were going to be talking about Netflix tonight,
No, neither did I.
but I'm glad we did.
But it's yeah.
Glad we did. Well, at least, well, here's the problem. Here's the thing. Netflix needs a Joe Rogan like Spotify got to boost their
That's the
viewership.
problem though, is that like even that is not Spotify producing the content. It's just Spotify paying to be exclusive. And Netflix, as we've
Hmm.
seen, as they keep raising their rates, can't afford to do that. So
Right.
they can't, there's like people like Apple dumped tons of money, but they're also building hardware that they can now bring in subscribers and give those people a discounted rate to have it on all their devices and like
Right.
and
That's
so
true.
that's kind of what Amazon does too, is that they're like, oh, we'll do this, but we'll give you this cool deal because it
The
shows
Amazon
ads. We have the
Prime.
Fire TV and we have the Fire tablet. And it's like everything is kind of connected. So those two like are the two major players right now. HBO
Sure.
tends to come with some higher end like mobile plans, like it's included. So like kind of the other people like Paramount has to really pull out all the stops to show up, right?
But they're doing it. But that's also their quantity is less, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're focusing on the quality to it,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
But then it comes down to like is when so like a lot of times what people would do is like subscribe to watch Stranger Things, and when it's done, they're done. Like they just
Right.
they cancel their subscription. So
But what Netflix is banking on is what a lot of other subscription services bank on
is you staying around
is
because
you're too lazy to cancel it, right?
right.
That's like well, that's what Amazon does too. It's even with like Audible, that type of thing,
True. Yeah.
you know. All right, guys, we're gonna hit you with some TILs and then we're gonna bounce. We're gonna
And we're gonna
bounce.
have better audio. And I need to apparently reinstall some stuff too, because things keep crashing around me.
It's a little squirrely.
I
All right, I'll hit this off. Well, how many? I only have two.
have
What
two.
do you got?
Go for
Okay, perfect. All right. Today, I learned that nearly 75% of all aluminum
it.
ever produced is still in circulation due to recycling.
That's kind of
I
cool.
thought that's kind of crazy. That's pretty cool.
Today I learned there are over 350 recognized pasta types in Italy today. But in the 13th century, there were four main types:
Mm.
spaghetti, ravioli, macaroni, and gnocchi.
What else do you need? Why do you need more than that? Come on.
350. If someone
That's
sat you
just
down right now and said, how many do you think there are? And you hadn't heard this insanely high number of 350, what would you guess? I would guess like 50.
yeah. I don't even think I probably would have said 50.
I
I'm
just I
so
just would
illiterate
I
when it
would
comes
guess
to that.
50 because I would be thinking it was a trick question
No,
and
yeah, that's fair.
guess high, right? Because that's what we do.
All right. Today I learned. Okay, guys, if your kids are in the room, earmuffs. Okay, earmuffs are on. Today I learned that honeymoon rhinitis is a condition that causes stuffy noses during sexual arousal due to erectile tissue in the nose being engorged during arousal and should not be confused with sexually induced sneezing, which is uncontrollable bouts of sneezing caused by sexual arousal. Fascinating, right?
I just want to know, like, who studied that?
Well, so there's been cases of people coming and complaining about that specifically during sexual arousal. Um, Something that a lot of people don't
It's
know
so
as
weird.
well is for obviously, we have genital tissue that is erectile tissue, but not a lot of people know that the nose, your nasal turbinates, those little things that get stuffed up, right? Those are technically um, erectile tissues, right? So like when you lay on one side, right, and you feel like one side decrease in size and the other one increase in size,
Right.
that's actually blood flow leaving one and engorging the other side. And
What?
that's kind of not a lot of people know that about your nostrils. So now you know.
The more
If
you
you
know.
don't know,
I'd
now
like
you
to,
know.
like, play that star that goes across the screen.
Yeah, we need the star. Oh, I wish we.
Today I learned of folk racing. So this is fascinating. Okay, it's a form of rallycross. You know, like the cars
Mhm.
racing that originated in Finland. There's a cost cap on the cars of 1,500 euros. To make sure nobody gets an unfair advantage by spending more on their car, anyone can buy the car for 1,500 euros, and if the owner refuses to sell, their competition license can be revoked.
What? I kind of love that.
It's so it's a bit weird because, like, I mean, I wonder if it's after the competition that somebody can come and buy it. Because you wouldn't want to have that ability to go, like, be like, well, your car looks like it's going to
True.
be faster. I'm going to buy it and then run in this race. So it must be after. I don't know. I didn't dig into it too deep, but I was like, that's kind of fascinating because someone could be like, no, that's what we paid, but no one's going to go over at least by very much if they know that that's all they're going to get back. Although
I don't understand though. Why would they say if the owner refuses to sell? Like, what does that mean? If they refuse to sell
so
what? Their
the
own
the
car?
car that they built for the race, if they refuse to sell it, their competition license can be revoked because it's assumed they're making the statement like that's not worth it for the car.
Uh, Fascinating. Yeah, but there'd also be like sentimental value, and you like would put work into it. And
That was that. Yeah, there probably isn't. I bet it's when people are like wondering if they're cheating.
yeah, right.
Someone
Yeah,
has the opportunity to go and be like, "All right, here's my
boom,
1,500
1,500
euros,"
bucks. Give me your car.
and then look through it.
Fascinating. Hmm.
I don't know.
That's cool. I like it. All right, guys. Well, it's been a blast to get back in the
It's
groove with
it's
y'all.
also been
And
wild
it's
and
been wild. It's been a
broken
little
sometimes.
squirrely. That's okay, though. That's okay. All right, guys. Well, you have a fantastic week. Stay safe out there. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We hope you are able to spend some quality time with family and friends. And we will talk to you soon. Peace
Hopefully, very soon.
out. Out, 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 out.
See ya.